Water in the glass tank began to flow out dramatically. The goldfish jumped out of the tank and onto the floor. The sound of the splash woke the sleeping old man as he stood in the doorway of his room and found the passageway flooded with water. A deep chasm had formed, and the goldfish he was feeding was escaping with the current. The old man first tested the depth of the water with his arm. Then he dragged out a big wooden basin from his room. He used it as a boat. The old man jumped into the basin with all his strength. For a goldfish that lives in a tiny fishbowl, the wide corridor is the place he's been looking for. Due to the rapid water flow, the goldfish swims very fast. The old man paddled the wooden basin. He followed the goldfish closely. The whole house is surrounded by a winding corridor. The walls of the house are covered with the footprints of time, pieces of clutter, the rusty scratches of the old man's childhood, and now they're as old as the old man. Seeing this, old man's thoughts are all over the place. Before I knew it, I followed the goldfish into a long alleyway. The walls here are covered with vines, peeling siding, the crumbling roofs of the beams. All of them are the work of time. The goldfish seems to be intentionally guiding the old man on his way. Each time, it would make a detour and pause, waiting for the old man behind him. At the end of the alley is a long deserted room. Through two old wooden doors, the old man came to the interior of the house. The more you go inside, the less light there is. From time to time, water droplets fall from the roof, stirring up a circle of ripples. When he reached the center of the house, the goldfish gradually disappeared into the water. The old man put down his broom and stopped the wooden bowl. He leaned down to look for the goldfish under the water. He put his head in the water and slowly opened his closed eyes. A long corridor leading to an underwater palace appeared under the water. At the bottom of the corridor, a mother and daughter are walking anxiously forward. The little girl carries a small bucket in her hand. Inside was the goldfish that had escaped. Suddenly, as if seeing something, letting go of his mother's hand, he walks forward, but he fell to the ground. The bucket in her hand fell to the ground. The goldfish was also thrown out. The little girl looked at the dying goldfish in her hand. She couldn't help but shed tears of pity. And the old man who saw the scene was also a little heartbroken, because this little girl was her childhood self. This is also the most unforgettable childhood scene engraved in her heart. She loved goldfish since she was a child. Even in his twilight years, her children didn't want her to be lonely. They gave her a goldfish as a gift. Every day, the old man would tease the goldfish in the yard until the sun set. Her daughter would take her back to her room. At that time, the goldfish would be placed in an aquarium, but the old woman was too obsessed with the goldfish. She stared at them for a long time and didn't want to go back to bed. She was dragged back to her room by her daughter late at night. She said goodnight to the goldfish. Then she went to sleep. In fact, it wasn't the goldfish that the old woman loved. It's just that the goldfish carries her thoughts of her mother. Soon the disappeared goldfish reappeared in the corridor. He swam past the old man. Then it slowly disappeared. It was as if the old days were gone. The old man tried to grab the goldfish, but it fell into the water. A few bubbles rise slowly. This is a sign that the old woman has finished her life on earth. Her house has been cleaned. The bed has been covered with a white cloth. The old woman's last spirit. She slowly got up from the floor. She realized that she had dreamed it all before she left this world. She didn't want to leave this house because there was a goldfish here that she couldn't let go of. It was her mother's love.